City
Well-
attorney will go ahead and take that.
I'll get that started. We'll take nominations. There does not need to be a second for a nomination. So and then once I've gotten all the nominations, we'll go ahead and vote at that time for the chair. Then we'll do the same thing for vice chair. So nominations are open for the chair.
Don't everyone speak at once.
Exactly. Yes.
I want to nominate Letha.
All right, Letha. Letha, did you want to be chair?
That's really sweet, but I've got three. I'm an officer in three other organizations, and I just don't know if I can do another one. But thank you. Thanks.
Right.
Very nice of her.
So I'm taking that as a thank you, but no thank you.
Thank you, right, yes.
Okay, so
right now.
we still have nominations open?
Well, seeing none, I will volunteer.
All right, Sherry?
I was
Thank you.
gonna, I was gonna nominate you, but I didn't know if you'd smack me or
You
not.
do so much.
You don't want to be shot down.
Right.
Any other nominations? None. All right, I'll close the nominations. All those in favor of Sherry Donahue to be the chair, raise your hand. It's unanimous, Sherry.
you.
Congratulations.
I get to
Take
move.
the,
Oh, sorry, Lynn.
Okay, that's fine. Leave me.
Well, if you want, you could all slide.
No, that's quite all right.
Okay. All right. Then I'll do the vice chair and then turn over the meeting over to you, Sherry.
Do we have a motion and a second? Or how am I doing that? Is that gonna be the same as a normal?
Well, we had the election, everyone voted, she was voted in anonymously. There's no need, unanimously, not anonymously, unanimously, and we won't need a second on the elections, on a nomination.
Okay, so with the motion, I'll get with you on that one later then.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider it more, it's who was nominated and then what the vote was,
Okay,
all right?
yep.
All right, now we'll open up the nominations for vice chair in the event that Sherry's unavailable.
Promise to try to come to all the meetings.
I'd like to nominate Maura, if you'd so like to do it. Would you?
Accept the nomination?
Will you accept the nomination?
Yes.
All right. Any other nominations? All right, we'll close the nominations. All in favor of Moira being vice chair, please raise your hand. It was unanimous.
Vote.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Ms. Donahue, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, you can change the chair every year, so this is not a lifetime commitment. Okay. So you can boot me out if you need to. Please don't put that in the minutes. I think the first order of business then would be we all were sent the minutes of the meeting from last.
We did not have a meeting last time.
So these don't need to be approved? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have, that was no official
It
business.
was an
conducted.
unofficial, we all took it so seriously. Okay, all right, well, in that case, we'll move on to the agenda, which then would be the draft rules of procedure. And those were in and are in our notebook. They are also at the desk. So hopefully, you've had some time to take a look at it. Does anyone want to discuss it further? Ernie, is there anything in particular that you wanted us to look at?
I was going to ask Jeannie if she had anything, but the one thing I do want you to notice is page 2, under the notice of meetings in red there. Through consensus last time, everybody thought the fourth Wednesday of the month would be the time for, would be the appropriate time for a meeting, but since we were at a workshop, we couldn't make that official. We can do that now if
Okay.
you would like. There would be a motion and a second as for setting the regular meeting date.
And as we're considering that, I asked the question earlier, is this a monthly or quarterly? You know, right now, we're all in a learning phase, but we don't have any variances in front of us. However, it's up
The
to,
certified local government dictates that the board must meet quarterly, but you can meet more often if you so like.
okay.
Also, everybody just been reminded, every so often you might see a flashing light, it means someone hasn't put their microphone on. So just be sure you turn your microphones on when you speak, if you're not sure how. That's what you were wanting, right, Brian? Couldn't hear Jeannie, you're the culprit. You'll have to there you go.
Oh, please take your spot at the
Good job, Brian.
podium.
The certified local government dictates that the board must meet quarterly, but you can meet more often if you so choose.
Well, how does the board feel about that? I mean, right now, we don't have any variances, but that could appear at any time, correct? Because we are now established. So do you feel that we need to meet monthly and for a certain period of time, or are you ready to go ahead and meet quarterly?
Could I was just gonna, can I chime in real quick?
Please.
Not that I'm a board member, but because you're kind of in organizational mode and training mode, I think that we've been kind of thinking that at least for the next couple of months, you'll meet on a monthly basis as we try and bring you all up to speed on something that's absolutely new.
Right.
So I think, at least for the,
Okay.
you may want to consider
So,
monthly type meetings until we get you acquainted.
I'm definitely in the training mode. The only reason I was willing to say I would act as chair is because I do know how to chair meetings. I don't know everything about this particular subject, so I'm definitely in a learning curve. Yes? No, oh, I thought you were raising your hand. No, okay, all right. So anybody have any ideas or any suggestions? Should we vote on I think what we said was the fourth Wednesday of the month. Yes, ma'am?
You brought up a very good point. It does not state in the rules that the chair will only serve for a year. So do you want that in there?
Well, I don't know. Let's see how this goes. Is this a lifetime appointment?
No, you
I
gotta
didn't know that.
You have it in there?
I thought we did, hold on.
Because when you said that, I was like, oh, is that
I
in
was
there?
going to say, does anybody else think, how long do you think you signed up for?
3 years.
2 years?
3.
3 years?
Some are 3, some are 2.
3. I'm 2.
I'm a 3.
Okay. But, yes, for the term, but in the meantime, I guess we can make a decision on the board chair. It's up to us, correct?
Correct? Yes.
Anybody else agree, disagree?
Why don't we re-elect every year? We'll put that in the rules now, and that way you can be off the hook in a year if you need
I'm
to.
fine with that.
Yeah.
I think that gives us an option of everyone taking a leadership position, not that we're not all going to have to be in leadership positions for this, but yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. The question is, do we want to do that now? We want to go ahead and finish the motion we're talking about? Let's go back to the dates and get that settled. Okay, so I need a motion to make it official that it will be the fourth Wednesday of the month, and then you can roll that into your motion, or we can make it 2 separate motions. It's up to you.
I would motion that when we meet, it will be the fourth Wednesday of a month.
Okay? All right, so we have a motion on the floor to meet the fourth Wednesday of the month. Okay,
And I'll second that.
and a second. All right, any discussion on that? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor of meeting on the fourth Wednesday of the month at 5 o'clock in council chambers? We'll just put it all in there. Are you okay with that motion? Okay, all right, ready for the vote? All in favor? Looks like it's approved. Okay, so now how do you want to do it? Do you want to meet quarterly, or do you want to begin by meeting monthly until we feel like we have some education behind us and we're ready to go quarterly.
I would think that would be the best way to
Okay.
handle it, because none of us are really familiar with all of it.
Well, I know over the holidays, this was our
Yes.
holiday reading.
Yes.
So,
Definitely.
And we all read it all.
yeah, right. Watch out.
We don't even need the training.
We're not on TV this month, but we will be from now on. So this is your only month to make statements like that. So I need a motion would you like to make another motion, Ms. Werner?
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion that we meet on the monthly for the next 3 months, and then determine our status thereafter.
Okay, so would you mean that we would meet February, March, and April?
Yes,
Okay.
that'll get us started.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And do we have discussion? Hearing no discussion, I call for a vote. All in favor of meeting monthly for the months of February, March, and April? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Who's my second?
The second was Moira. Right, no, was it?
Margot.
No, yeah, okay. Sorry, last time I wrote it down, this time I didn't, so I'll take better notes. Okay. All right, so we have that established. It has been talked here that we would decide to elect a chair on an annual basis. So let's see, where would that go in your,
Oh, it is in there.
it is in there?
So annually elected chair.
Ta-da, see, look at us, we're following the rules already.
Where's that at, Jeannie?
Section 1 of the members, officers, and duties.
Annually elected chair.
Where's that?
First page.
First page?
Members, officers, and duties, number 1.
Okay,
Um,
done.
Chair, if
Yes.
I could.
Yes, please.
Ms. Hodges and I were talking about the elections yesterday, and, we have several boards, and we got to thinking that if we can try and get all elections of chair and vice chairs to occur in January for all boards, that way it'll help us remember
Right.
to do that. So we don't have in here, when that would be, if someone would want to maybe say that the elections would be in January. Do you have any issue with that? No. That would be probably helpful.
So you're suggesting that we say, members, officers, and duties, number 1, read, from among its members, the board shall annually elect a chair, vice chair, and pro tem chair when necessary in the month of January, or insert January before you get to a chair pro tem?
Actually, just for a chair and vice chair.
Okay,
Just for your edification, a chair pro tem is when, for some reason, we have a meeting and neither the chair nor vice chair could be there, let's say, right away or whatever. You would elect a
Oh,
chair
okay.
pro tem, which is chair for time, that would preside over the board until either the chair or the vice chair showed up. So chair pro tem would always be as an ad hoc.
okay, so that's an as-needed person. Okay, so I will need another motion to change the rules of procedure to read, from among its members, the board shall annually elect a chair and vice chair in the month of January, whatever sounds best. Maybe someone can make a better motion than I have
No,
read.
that works.
That works?
Yeah.
Do you have that, Jen? And-
Not the way you said it.
But who's
Okay.
made the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
That item number 1, from among its members, the board shall annually elect a chair and a vice chair in the month of January, and a chair pro tem when necessary.
We may even want,
Well, it's in there already. Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Letha. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Well, we've passed 3 motions and it's only 5:15, so. I don't think, we won't be able to keep up with that in the future. Okay, is there anything else, Jeannie, that you thought we should pay close attention to?
No, I think, no, I believe everything else is in order. So with those revisions, with the revisions that the board has indicated, you can either choose to adopt the rules of procedure tonight, or we can revise them and you can adopt them at your next meeting, whatever you're comfortable with.
That's what I was going to ask. If you're comfortable passing it as is, or do you want to read it over and see if you have any questions and you'd rather push this off to next month's agenda?
Move to accept them as.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I move to accept them as written.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Werner to approve the rules of procedures as amended tonight. Do I have a second?
I second.
Moira? Second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Okay, we're on a roll. All right, the next is Robert's Rules of Order and Procedure. Who would like to address that? Yes.
Talk real quick on that. What, your rules of procedure obviously are what you'll follow as, you run your meeting as a board. The rules can't cover everything, so in case something comes up that doesn't seem to be covered by your rules, your fallback is always gonna be Robert's Rules of Order. So I just wanted to make you aware.
Okay.
All right, and I should be able to advise as to what Robert's rules would require if that should come up.
Okay. I do have one question. We are a quasi-judicial board, correct? And so there will be times when speakers will need to be sworn in. And will there also be times when we have to say yes or no that we have spoken to the presenters?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We'll do before any
Would you
hearing.
explain that? Because I don't
Yeah.
know that people have had to go through that before.
And we're having a video. I can't remember if the video talked about ex parte, but just in case, you'll just hear it twice. Because you are quasi judicial, you have to be independent. And if someone were to speak with you, in fact, I may have talked about this last month too, when we talked about it, is in the event that, you should refrain from trying to have any conversations with anyone about something that could come before you. But as best you try, you may not be able to do that. Someone's gonna start talking to you, and next thing you know, you have a conversation going. The conversation itself is not detrimental, as long as you disclose it. The idea being, everybody knows that you had this conversation, what it was, who it was with, and the fact that you can still be fair and impartial, and you'll be able to base your decision on the information that's at the hearing, never on anything that was outside of the hearing itself.
I mean, that, once people know who you are, you will get those conversations. They will approach you.
Would you just close immediately following the conversation or at the top of the next meeting?
It would be at a time just before the hearing itself,
Okay.
right? What we don't want to do is go through that hearing and then find out that there was an ex parte communication that could undo everything that you did. So, yeah, and I will, just do that, but prior to the hearing, I'll ask if anybody's had either verbal or written ex parte communications. And ex parte always kind of meaning outside of this noticed hearing.
And we also probably wouldn't want to disclose it if they actually haven't brought forth their case.
Correct.
They could be saying, hey, I've been thinking about whatever, and we're taking notes and we're paying attention, and then they don't do anything with it, so.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make sure it's an issue before we, and we'll know that if they're on your agenda.
And then, so everyone will be, anyone speaking to us in a case even their own, they will be sworn in before they begin their testimony. Will we, no, but we also will be given what their request is ahead of time? Like, will it come to us in an agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't want to speak for you, Marissa. If you have an idea of what the, how the staff, or Mike's here too, they can address this situation.
They'll get a staff report prior.
So good evening, Mike Sherman. I'm the Community Development Director. I'm not sure if I've met everybody, but to answer the question, for each item you get, whether it's for a variance application or we're looking at certificates of appropriateness or whatever the issue may be, if we're looking at grants, you'll get a staff report from us. It'll give you an idea of what the issue is, what our recommendation is, we'll have findings of facts and why our recommendation is as it is. We'll list, like, there's hardship criteria that y'all have to look at when you get a variance. We'll address each one of those hardship criteria, tell you whether we believe it's a hardship or not. But yeah, there won't be any item that y'all have to deal with where you won't have some kind of staff report or documents for us to help get y'all up to speed before the meeting.
that makes a big difference, to know ahead of time what's coming to us. Because no one just drops in. Yeah, okay. All right, that's important. All right, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we did talk about, so I understand you have a PowerPoint presentation to tell us some of these same things?
Yes, actually, you have down on your agenda quasi judicial board presentation and a variance presentation. You won't have the variance one tonight. We're going to have to tweak that a bit. In fact, we'll probably be tweaking the quasi judicial board one too.
Okay.
But we wanted to have something here for you. So hopefully it'll work out good enough for you guys to follow and everything else. So Chair, if you're ready, we can.
I'm ready, unless anybody has anything else. Okay.
Hello, I'm Ernie Mueller from the Legal Department, and today we are going to briefly discuss the basics of quasi-judicial procedure. The oath you took for your office requires you to uphold the laws of the city, the state, and the United States. The board attorney will advise you on the laws as may be necessary from time to time. It is very important you listen to their advice. When you follow the advice of the board attorney, you not only protect the city, but yourself as well. As long as you follow advice, you are protected from lawsuits against you. If you fail to follow the attorney's advice, you might be held personally liable in a lawsuit related to that action. The city also may not provide you legal counsel in those situations. As a member of a public board, you are now subject to several laws, including Florida's Sunshine Law. All discussions on matters that may come before the board or commission between two or more members is subject to the Sunshine Law. That means that it must be noticed, open to the public, and minutes must be taken. Your regularly scheduled public hearings meet these requirements and are the correct time to discuss items. The following are not in compliance with the Sunshine Law. Discussions that occur in the back room during a recess, passing a note to a fellow member during the meeting, discussions at a neighborhood association meeting, or any other communications of board business not noticed as such, open to the public, and recorded in some manner is a possible violation of the Sunshine Law. This includes emails, text messages, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, tweets, telephone conversations, as well as the telephone game, where you tell someone to go tell another member. Also, all of these written forms, including your personal emails and text messages regarding board business, then become public records and must be retained according to the Public Records Law. It is better to just not create these records and potential violations. Communications on board business with fellow members is best handled at noticed public meetings in the sunshine. If you have a topic that you feel should be discussed, either send an email to the city staff, who can neutrally disseminate information that would not violate the Sunshine Law, or schedule it for discussion at a noticed meeting. However, matters pertaining to a particular application should only be discussed in the hearing on that application. Do not violate the Sunshine Law. If you do, you may be assessed up to a $500 fine. Knowingly violating the Sunshine Law is a second-degree misdemeanor and is punishable by a fine of up to $500 and/or imprisonment for up to 60 days. You will likely be suspended or removed from your office. Attorney's fees can be assessed and may be assessed against you personally unless you are following the advice of the board attorney. In addition, if there is action taken on the matter discussed outside the sunshine, that action could be voided. You must also comply with the laws on conflicts of interest. There are statutory conflicts of interest, and there are conflicts based on the appearance of impartiality. First, let's discuss statutory voting conflicts. You are required to vote unless a ground for conflict or recusal exists. Under Florida statutes, board members are conflicted and must recuse themselves if the matter will inure to their special private gain or loss. Special private gain or loss means an economic benefit or harm that would inure to the member, his or her relatives, business associates, or client. The economic benefit or harm should be fairly direct and immediate, not mere speculation. For example, your spouse is working on this project is a statutory conflict. That your spouse has a landscaping company and this project could hire them to provide landscaping if approved is not a statutory conflict. If you have a conflict, you must recuse yourself on the record, state the reason, and file the form with the city staff within 15 days. Even if there is not a statutory conflict, disclosure of a conflict and possible recusal may still be necessary. Consider whether it would appear to someone on the losing side that you may not have been completely impartial. Examples are, if you live or own property within the area that required notice of the property at issue, you should recuse yourself in this instance. What if you are within the neighborhood and either have been or currently are active in the local HOA that is opposing the proposal? Again, this should be disclosed and you may need to recuse yourself. What if your college roommate is the applicant? Once again, disclose, and you may need to recuse yourself. Even if there is not an ex parte communication, these types of perceived or real conflicts should be disclosed, and the board attorney will walk you through whether recusal is necessary. Whether your possible conflict is with the applicant or the opposition, it is better to disclose than to have a decision overturned because you failed to disclose. Florida statutes also prohibit soliciting anything of value in exchange for a vote, accepting anything of value given to influence a vote, attempting to use an official position for private gain, using non-public information for private gain, doing business with one owns agency, or having a conflicting employment or contractual relationship. These are all prohibitions found in the Florida Code of Ethics for public officers and employees. Unlike the previous slide where clarifying the impartiality or recusal from a vote cured the defect, violations of these provisions cannot be so easily cured. We are going to talk specifically about what is a conflicting employment or contractual relationship. A public officer is prohibited from having an employment relationship or contractual relationship with a business that is subject to the regulation of or doing business with their agency. Practically speaking, this could come up if you or a business partner represents someone appearing in front of your board. So if your employer or a client paying you come before the board, you would need to resign. However, and this is a big however, there is an exception to the statute for professionals that are on the board because of their profession. For example, if you are an architect on the board in the architect position and your client that you provide architectural services to under a contract appears before the board, you can simply recuse yourself instead of resigning. If, however, you are on the board in a citizen position, you would be required to resign. If you are not sitting on the commission in the professional capacity, you will want to be very cognizant of whether someone that you have an employment or contractual relationship with might come before the board. A second part of this is worth noting also. Continuing or frequently recurring conflicts can also be a cause to resign. For example, you would not want your business partner to start routinely representing people in front of your board. Even if you fall within the exception mentioned above, a constant, frequent cause for recusals may still necessitate resignation. Okay, we've talked about the matters that affect the public hearing. Let's talk about the hearing itself. Staff will present the item. All staff departments with a presentation should present first. This is followed by the applicant, then comments from the general public. Then the applicant is afforded rebuttal. After rebuttal, the public hearing will be closed. The very next thing that should happen is a motion. All city hearings operate under Robert's Rules of Order. Generally, Robert's rules call for a motion, a second, discussion, and voting. Always in that order. Thus, discussion is appropriate on a motion, and a motion should be made immediately after closing the public hearing. New state law requires that every board decision to approve with conditions, or deny must include written findings. In order to allow the minute taker to accurately capture all the grounds for the board's decision and commit those to a writing, the motion must come before any discussion. Let's briefly discuss motions. The motion to approve with conditions, or deny should state all the grounds or findings that the motion maker believes supports the decision. The best way to support the board's decision is to have all the reasons for the motion stated in the best possible detail. The motion maker should cite the code section and all factual references that he or she feels support the decision. Board members may find it helpful to take notes for themselves during the hearing that they can reference them. Board members may find it helpful to take notes for themselves during the hearing that they can reference at the close of the hearing. However, board members should never pass these notes to other board members. Keep them only for reference, not communicating. If you are not the motion maker, you can still help. If a fellow board member makes a motion that you feel lacks code or evidentiary support, you can offer an amendment. For example, evidence of X and Y in the record also supports your motion. Will you accept that as an amendment? It's a welcome addition to all motions. If a motion is made but does not receive a second, it will die, and another motion is in order. Once a motion is properly made and seconded, discussion is appropriate. The chair may limit discussion if time is limited, but generally, board members have an opportunity to speak after the motion and the second, if they so desire. It is not necessary to speak, however. If a board member simply agrees with the motion, there is not a requirement that they discuss it. If, however, a board member disagrees with the motion that was made, this is the correct time to bring up concerns to fellow members. After a vote is taken, unless the vote failed, the matter is closed and should not be further discussed. If you have concerns after a vote has been taken, it is best to address these concerns to either staff or the legal department privately. The need to be impartial and act impartially continues even after the applicant has left the room, and you never know when a particular issue, applicant, or case may come back. If discussion is going long and not progressing, and if the chair has not called for an end to the discussion, any board member may signal to be called upon, and upon obtaining the floor, move to call the question. Call the question means to cease all discussion and take an immediate vote.
If seconded and approved, no further discussion is allowed. However, generally, all members will simply agree to vote if another member calls the question. Under Robert's rules, almost all motions require the moving member to obtain the floor by signaling and being called upon to speak. Similarly, almost all motions require a second and a vote. Point of order does not require any of these. Point of order is used if you believe procedure has been violated in some way. If you believe an important part of procedure was missed, you can simply call out point of order and then state what you believe the concern to be. It is always best to obtain the floor first, but if you cannot get the chair's attention, always feel free to just speak up on important procedural issues. It protects the city to make sure proper procedure is always observed. Point of information does require you to obtain the floor first, but it does not require a second or a vote. Board members can use point of information to ask questions from staff or of the legal department. While questions may come up at any time, ideally, all questions of staff, legal, members of the public in support or opposition, as well as questions of the applicant, will take place before the applicant is given a chance at rebuttal. If additional questions come up after an applicant has already given their rebuttal, they may need to be afforded additional rebuttal time to address any evidence given in response to the question. Thank you.
Any questions? Again, we will be tweaking that a bit, but we wanted you to at least get something. So, if you have any questions on that, please ask.
No?
Pretty succinct, I
Good. Okay. Thank you for putting that together, Ernie. Sorry I jumped the gun and asked you a bunch of questions you were going to talk about.
If you hear it twice, it just reinforces.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Do we have Mr. Fernandez here tonight?
Actually, this is next month. He'll be here. What we wanted to do was
Okay.
kind of let you know that he was going to come. Dennis Fernandez is the manager of the historic preservation over in Tampa. Has been doing this for years, and he has generously offered to come and talk with you about the different processes you're going to go through. As you're aware, you're going to be doing certificates of appropriate when the time comes. You'll be getting applications for certificate of appropriateness. Also applications for recommendation for designation. All these different processes, I'm not thinking of everything. Oh, variances, all these different things. Actually, I'll be teaching you the variances, but all these other, the use, I'm sure everybody's going, Department of Interior standards, I need to apply those? He'll talk with you a bit about that. So come with questions. Dennis will be a great resource to ask those questions to.
Okay. So now that we officially know that we're meeting in February, I hope he's available.
He is, he's already
Yeah.
confirmed.
He's already confirmed? Okay, just in case we decided to go quarterly right away. Yeah. Well, better to have him confirmed than say, whoops, you're off the hook, than to not. So, okay, well, that's good to know. I had a question for you, and it's just gone right out of my head, but hopefully it'll bounce back in. Anybody have any other specific questions? I don't know if you read the article. I guess what I want to say is how important it is to come to every meeting, if at all possible. Now, watch, I'll be the first one to have to say I'm not out in town. There was an article about the building. Did you read it? The historic registered building on Davis Island, where it has historic registration. However, it isn't going to be protected from demolition. And the comments were about the board more than they were about what was happening, about how there were only 4 in attendance, and I believe they don't quite have 7 themselves, right?
Right.
Right. This is the city of Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, okay. They don't mind talking bad about us if we're not doing our, yeah.
Not doing what they think is your job.
Right, and so, I don't remember now, did they have 7, or they were having a hard time filling their board, and
Couldn't fill it.
they opened with a minimum number? And 4 was their minimum number?
That must have been quorum. Yeah, I'm afraid I didn't, when was this?
Oh, last week, maybe?
Yeah, it started about 2 weeks ago that they've been talking about. But the house was up for sale, I think it's like 4 million or, and then they want to talk about knocking it down.
Yeah. I know.
Is that the house that was Mr. Davis?
Yes, Mr. Davis's home.
Oh, because I saw the listing,
Yeah,
all the pictures and all the stuff, but it didn't say anything about
yeah.
demo.
So we might all want to take a good look at this case, because, all I know is what I've read in the paper.
What you get in the paper, yeah.
And, I mean, that's probably the only place I'm going to know more, unless, y'all know more about it. Yeah, yeah. But my point is, one of their comments was that they barely had a quorum, that they had members who were missing, and so they voted anyway, and that for something that important, the petitioner wanted them. They did have a quorum, but the petitioner said, not everybody was there, and I didn't feel like I was heard by everybody. So,
Sure.
we do have a couple of those buildings that,
Well, we had that one, my sister house that they purchased, and like 3 days later, they
Yeah.
knocked it all down.
right. Well, and then I guess my other question is going to be, what, at this point, we have buildings that we're all like biting our fingernails, waiting for them to come down because they're being neglected, so that they will come down. And I'm looking at Marissa, she's like got this rolling list. So, the question will be at some point, I mean, I guess we're not going to be proactive, right? We have to wait for people to come to us. Oh, that'll be hard.
Can we just have a suggestion box maybe? And suggest?
Might kill your impartiality.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Is that something we could use time to get more information on, the specific lists of properties that are in danger as part of this board?
Yeah, I get.
Well, I mean,
And to what degree and,
You have to remember, oh, sorry.
No, you.
No, I just really,
Probably go vote.
the way that we adopted this ordinance, that we had the council adopt this ordinance, is because this is a strictly voluntary program. So there's no way, I mean, if the property owner is not willing, there's pretty much nothing we can do. It's all voluntary.
You can nominate another building to be registered, designated locally, but if the owner is not willing to do that, then we can't.
I think for me, it would just be helpful to understand the full sort of historic landscape, and just have an awareness of that.
Okay, so a list of endangered properties, pretty much. Okay.
We have the map of the location of all the properties that are in our 1988 Historic Resources Survey. If you would like that map, we could
I'd love
get you
that.
copies.
Yes?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I agree with you, I'd like to know, I guess my question is, if I know that it should be a candidate, I mean, we're not actually going out as a body, correct? But if it's not us, who is? Is it your
You mean
department?
going to the site?
No, if I see that, the house we'll just pick my address, because it's not ever going to be on the historic register.
Don't.
So at 209, this house, wow, this is a perfect example of a house that should be preserved. That's really not in our purview, is it? No.
You can direct staff to send letters to
Okay.
these property owners.
That's good to know. I think that's where you're
So
headed.
we
right?
can't
We
solicit
can
them through
encourage,
you.
Yeah.
yes, we can encourage them, but
Okay,
it has to be voluntary.
Well, I'm not going to be encouraging anybody, because then when they come up forward, I'll say, yes, I had a conversation with them. I told them, come on forward, we want to hear your case. So I probably won't do that. I most likely, myself, will say to you, oh, this house is so beautiful, it should never come down,
Well,
or
and
whatever.
just to clarify, I wasn't thinking as far ahead as a public, campaign or encouraging. I just felt like for my own edification and awareness, I'd like that information. And I do understand the importance of a soft touch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, we are not to reach out to homeowners and none of that stuff, right? I mean, we can talk to staff about if we see a house that we think might fit, but we cannot talk to homeowners, none of that stuff. That, right?
The other thing we can do is, this was discussed at the council level, is to come up with incentives for property owners to come into the program. That's something the board can talk about, and we can put something together and send it out to the owners of historic properties.
But we're not to disclose that to them, right?
Incentives?
To the owners. Can we tell them, hey, the city has this incentive and
Yes,
that kind of
yes,
thing?
if we have a
Yes, we
program that offers incentives to
We
the
can-
property owners, yes, we can push that out.
But it's a little bit of a slippery slope there.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Jeannie might be thinking that you're gonna talk to staff about this, and then staff would reach out. I mean, I would be very reticent about
Yeah,
any board members going out and recruiting.
yeah,
No, let me clarify, no.
Yeah.
It'll be, you direct staff to do this, but the board can discuss incentives. Markers for historic properties, waiving fees for applications, stuff like that. That's discussed at the board level, and then you direct staff to send letters or whatever.
Is there a fund already established for incentives in the budget?
No. So that's another thing. We'd have to come up with costs and, present that to council.
Right. It would be nice if there was already a pot of money for us to play with, but since there's not.
Would be nice, but
Yeah,
unfortunately,
season was
budget,
happening.
yeah,
The ordinance hadn't passed.
yeah. So we were at a
Okay.
disadvantage.
okay, that makes sense.
Would this be a good question for Dennis when he comes, just learning what City of Tampa does in terms of incentives and, okay.
Definitely. Don't want to try to reinvent the wheel.
No,
Yeah.
never.
It would be good to understand why someone may let their home deteriorate to the point of almost demolition by
Neglect?
neglect. Because a lot of times, especially if they're older, they just get into the idea that they can't afford it, or maybe they can't to do anything. And we don't have a program for that yet either.
No, and some of them are so elderly, they move out of state and just leave it.
Well, exactly, yeah, you're right. They do. But that's another issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when that hardship thing comes in
It
for
is.
us,
Yeah,
as well as them.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other, yes, Ernie?
Sorry to chime
please.
in, but in case you wanna, you decide that, oh, I want some entertainment, you could look at the YouTube channel for Tampa for their boards and just kind of see how a motion goes. Let me tell you how Tampa's set up so that you know what to look for. Tampa, it has broken up into 3 boards, everything that you guys have, this board has been authorized to do. They have something called, their Historic Preservation Board is actually the designation board, and was probably the board that was dealing with maybe the Davis Island issue, because if they were trying to remove that from the list, that would have gone through the Historic Preservation Board. So there's as far as doing the certificates of appropriateness, the variances, everything else, that's broken down into two different boards. The Barrio Latino Commission, the BLC, they handle everything that's in the Ybor City Historic District. So you can watch them, or every place outside of Ybor is under the Architectural Review Commission, the ARC. They do the areas like Palmacia, Hyde Park, Seminole Heights, and all that. So you'll have two different boards, and you may want to watch a hearing of each. They're scintillating.
Are they popcorn ready?
Oh, yeah.
Just don't get
How many
too
seasons?
comfy, you'll fall asleep, huh?
Actually, well, especially if, with, you get the presentations and what people are gonna do and stuff, I advised those boards, I actually enjoyed all the hearings, because I like historic preservation, and it was just always very interesting. So, I'm, trying not to be too cheeky about it, but they're interesting, but, and I think they'll be good for you to watch, so you can, especially when Dennis is here, you might have, get some questions off of that.
Okay.
So the ARC or the BLC under the Tampa YouTube channel.
Okay. So on the agenda and the creation of, is that something that we direct, or are you going to be putting that together for us? Right now, without any variances or the motions, obviously, that will,
Yes, I will be putting the Historic Preservation Board agenda together with input from the chair, because it's your agenda, so, or if anybody has anything that they would like to put on it.
okay, well, that was going to be my next question to the board members. Do you have anything specific you would like to address at the February meeting? That's such an open-end question, isn't it?
Kinda.
It'd be easier to say, do you want to talk about this or this, but,
And if you think of anything in the meantime, you're always welcome to email Jean or
Yes,
myself,
please.
and we can-
And I am open to any suggestions once you send it to Jeannie. So I don't have an agenda, and I'd like for you to, if you think of something that you really might want to talk about, and, we've given us a couple of ideas here, some incentives or some other things for us to research in the month in between on our own or with your help. So,
And if you do email staff, this is a good time again to keep reinforcing, try not to email, add everybody else on the board, because if someone replies, you now have that conversation going.
Right.
So just remember to, to just do staff, email staff, and if you do get everybody gets something from staff, should be saying at the very top, do not reply all. So just try and keep that in mind too. And again, I know a lot of you are kind of new to boards, so, that's why I'll keep reinforcing this, just so you can think about it.
Well, the training next month will be the highlight of it for now, so that we
Yeah.
can get some
Yeah.
a better idea of what we're doing.
well, and what we still have a little fuzzy on, if anything, we may be all ready to get up and to speed as soon as. What's your estimate? It's been out there a while. People are hearing about us. I keep going to you because you two have lived and breathed this now for years. Yeah. So, what are you hearing from the community? Is there going to be? Is somebody ready for us to be in action and ready to come forward, or? Oh, boy. That's solicited. Jump up. You don't have to tell me who it is. I just want to know, are we coming
We
close?
have had one request that has asked if there was any way they could designate their house. This was a few months ago. We told them prior to the ordinance being passed, we told them not at this time, that the ordinance would have to be passed first.
I think it's now time that we send out an invitation to all the
To all
owners of historic properties and let them know where we're at, and, just invite them to come
Okay.
into the program.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, was something mailed to them?
We have been keeping in touch with the.
So they know, they're
Yes.
aware of the
Yes,
board and all that.
yes. But, there's nothing wrong with reminders.
Okay.
And just to bring everybody up to speed on, where we're at. And, now that the rules have been adopted, we can apply to become a certified local government, which is quite an honor. There are certain steps and certain things that need to happen before you can submit an application to the state. Now we've checked off everything that needs to happen, so we can put the application together and send it in. And once we're a CLG, that's even more exciting.
The CLG program will offer us a lot of grant opportunities that we can apply for to help with surveying and other things. So that's why becoming a CLG is high on our priority.
What is the typical timeline from submission of application to getting your CLG?
It's a couple months.
Couple months.
I mean, especially it depends on the backlog in the state.
That's actually quicker than I thought. So.
Yeah. Hopefully, but it will at least be several months.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But this person now knows that he can move forward. He just hasn't started the process.
Not yet, but we can inform.
Okay, so
As
we have
he's
one
been
who's
informed
just
that,
anxiously awaiting us to say, go.
Yes.
So as of today, you can file it?
Yes, yes. Oh, sorry. I've been waiting. Yes, we will start working on the application.
I don't think we'll be staying late to do it, but
And we'll keep.
But the
you
party's
updated.
at your house?
yes.
And there was a story about our CLG being formed. Did y'all see that? It was in the Beacon?
No.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Someone texted it to me.
Oh,
They saw my name.
Is it
Sorry,
in the
gave your names
current
out.
one?
This one? Or,
no,
Things previous.
no, it was at least a week ago, Yeah. So
I
it's,
can email Jeannie the picture I got, and you can send it out.
Absolutely.
okay. Any other business to come before this board? All right, well, it looks like we're going to finish about 2 minutes early, so we might enjoy that while we can. These could go on for a while in the future, and that would be exciting. And that's why we all signed up, right? Because this is a subject that we're interested in, and we wanted to make sure that with our help, the city could actually apply for the designation and then move forward to designate our historic homes. So
It's been a long time coming.
I have no other objections.
I know it's been long for you guys. I remember when it was started, so.
Which is why we're so happy to have you on this board. Because you can say,
I don't know about
yeah,
that.
been there, tried that.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't mention bats. So
Oh, boy.
That's a whole other committee.
that's a whole different ballgame. Yep.
I have no objection to adjourning the meeting.
You're here?
We are adjourned.